Hello again, thanks for joining me. This time we're going to be creating a simple 9-patch quilt block. This is going to be used in a larger quilt that's been gifted at Christmas. Just a note on the fabrics I used in this one. I decided to use our texture blenders as it's a range that we try to keep in stock at all times. Now I've used these fabrics, which are Craft Cotton Company fabrics, for a lot of quilting projects, and they're always really great to work with and excellent quality. We stock a wide range of colours in these texture blenders as they're really useful for different projects. Obviously you'll have a favourite. Mine is the black. This first video will focus on creating the 9-patch block itself, and we'll follow up with more videos for each step of the process so that you're not having to watch a super long video. For this step you'll need a ruler, preferably 12.5 by 12.5 inches, rotary cutter and mat, your sewing machine, thread, iron and pins. As you know, I don't generally like to pin, but when the pieces need to be held together and sewn accurately, pins or clips are definitely worth using. So let's get going. We want each block to measure 12 inches once finished, so we'll be making this up to 12.5 by 12.5 inches to allow for trimming to size and a 1/4 inch seam once the blocks are sewn together. Each block has 9 squares, all of which start out at 4.5 by 4.5 inches. I want the block to coordinate well with the alternate blocks I'll be using, so I chose to use the texture blender in white throughout, and then 4.5 inch blocks of navy from the same range so that the 9-patch design stands out. All measurements need to be as accurate as possible for this kind of block, so go ahead and cut 4 4.5 inch squares from the white fabric and 5 4.5 inch squares from the navy fabric. Obviously that will only get you one block. I'll add total cuts into the description so you know how many to cut to create the entire quilt. Once the squares are cut, lay out your fabrics so that you can see they all sit together nicely. This is also a good visual for the order in which to sew them together. We're going to stitch the top row together first. Flip square 2 on top of square 1 so that the right sides are together. Go ahead and pin them. Sew down the right hand side using an accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance. You may want to consider investing in a 1/4 inch machine foot. They're inexpensive and really useful. Press to set the seam. Then open up the fabric and press the seams open, careful of your fingers. Now as you can see, I didn't use the iron here. This was simply because of little pores. Now place another navy square right side together against the white fabric and sew again in the same way. Repeat the ironing process. Don't be tempted to skip it. It makes a huge difference to the quality of the finished block. Once the seams are all ironed nice and flat, turn the fabric over and give it a press from the top. Set the row aside and repeat this step to construct rows 2 and 3, remembering to sew the squares in the correct order. Now we'll see how accurate your seams are. Place row 1 on a flat surface and add row 2 on top of it, right sides together. If your seams are sewn accurately, the seams from row 1 should match up with the seams from row 2. Carefully align them and pop a pin in near the actual seam. Stitch those two pieces together. Again, use 1/4 inch seam allowance, and please, please, please remove your pins as you sew. Press to set the new seam, then press that seam open again. Repeat to add your final row. Always double check you have things put together correctly before you start sewing. Once you've finished ironing the seams, turn the entire block over and press it from the top. Don't be tempted to cut this block down to the required size. I always construct all blocks first, then trim them together at the end. This just means that if for whatever reason a block is slightly smaller, you can cut the others down to the same size as the smallest. That being said, if your seams are accurate, it shouldn't be a problem. To complete the quilt with me, you'll need to create a total of 15 of these 9 patch blocks. The other block is simply going to be a 12-inch square cut from the white fabric. You'll need 15 of those too. Again, don't be tempted to cut those until you've completed and trimmed your 9 patch blocks, so that everything is cut to the same dimension. In our next video, we'll show you how to trim those blocks to the correct size and how to sew them together into columns for quilting. Thanks for watching, and please consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more videos.